All right, this is a variable. Bring you some Yomi action here. I have a set against Zqxx that I think is interesting. Um, oops. Okay. So I'm not the most experienced Gloria player, but I think this is an interesting matchup. Um, Gloria specifically against Argagarg has. I feel like there are interesting things about this matchup where Argagarg's innate, dealing 2 damage every turn that he's not knocked down, and Gloria's innate healing for 4 life every time that she wants to discard 2 cards, basically, when she's not knocked down. So, um, effectively, she can counter 2 turns of Argagarg's innate Hex of Barkwood um, by healing once. Um, so this kind of pushes the matchup probably to be Gloria favored. I would imagine. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I haven't looked on like Mystic Juicer's matchup charts to see how accurate that is. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure if that's actually true, but that's just the feeling I have about playing it a few times. Um, so this is the first in a set of 5 rounds I played against Zqxx here, and it's this first game. I'm not sure how real it is because I start with the Ace of Hearts in hand, which is Gloria's like one of her best cards in her deck, and there's a strong likelihood that you would power up for it whenever you could. Um, Even if it like decreased your options significantly and put you in like a semi-unsafe space, you would still probably want to have it. So starting with it is a pretty big advantage. And I also have a 10, which allows me to have access to a healing sphere later in the game. And I think I get several spheres up this game, but let's see how it progresses here. So, turn 1, I throw, because I'm trying to play around turn 1 Bubble Shield from Argagarg, and that's Argagarg's ace block. I'm basically assuming, like, if that were to happen, I'm trying to play around, like, the worst case scenario. Oops, this should be on too. Anyway. So yeah, like the ace block, if I would attack into it or get a Joker gold bursted, I would activate this bubble shield effect where the ace becomes an ongoing move, or has an ongoing effect, and the Hex of Rookwood deals 2 extra damage, and that can stack up to 4 copies of it, which is, I mean, that'd be incredible. I've never seen it before. I bet it's happened. But if that were to happen, like, Gloria's health, like, it looks like she has way less health than Argagarg because of Hex of Mirkwood and because of being at 70 to start with. But she can heal many times throughout the game, and it's inconsequential for her to, if she's played reasonably well, if your hand is reasonably like hard slight, to heal, I don't know, like get like 20 life back out of that or something. Heal 5 times is not hard to do, and you could heal way more than that in a game. So anyway, so I don't want to get this bubble shield. I do not want to get bubble shielded turn 1, so I throw, and I get hit with 11 damage. It's not the best start. So, I mean, like, even though I didn't win combat, I do have the ace. It's kind of annoying when this happens because it's like it's a tell to the opponent that I have an ace in hand. That's annoying to me. I kind of wish you could just like auto pass. Like, if you lose combat, I don't know. this is probably not. I mean, it could be added to the game later, but I wish I could just auto pass because there's. If I lose on turn 1, I'm probably not going to deal 10 to each of us, which is what this ace does. So this deals 10 to each player, but the important thing is that, or there are several important things, but one important thing is the Gloria player, or whoever is using this ability, takes the damage first. And then if you win combat, you draw 2 cards. So if I used it now, I would not draw 2 cards, but I'd still deal 10 damage to each of us, but it doesn't make sense to do. So yeah. And then I'm saying ridiculous role-playing stuff up here. Anyway. So that's my menu bar. Okay, so then I don't have a Hearts to Healing touchback, so I mean, I think this could be a point where like maybe newer Gloria players get intimidated by how like she's kind of an open-ended character. You can Healing Touch here. I could bring back nothing and gain 4 life, but in my opinion, unless you're in a significantly disadvantaged state, you don't want to do it unless you can bring something back, because you're going down a card each time. You're discarding 2 not hearts to get a hearts back, so yeah, you're getting the 4 life, but you're going down a card each time, so that's a cost that you don't want to pay unless you can at least stay at parity, which this allows you to do. But we'll get into that. So I draw 3. I think I play this 10. Yeah, okay. So I try to play this 10. One important thing is that Argagarg actually has a counter, so Crash and Flow would counter the 10. Argagarg's 10 would counter this 10. And the annoying thing about it from the Gloria players, my point of view in this case, is that it puts it on the bottom of the deck. Now, like Ace of Hearts, for example, or Ace of Hearts. Ace of Hearts also works with this, but 10 of Hearts could be recurred from the discard, like for the whole game. If it went to discard, but it doesn't go to discard, it goes to bottom of the deck. So, yeah, that's annoying. That's annoying. So, just playing this is kind of like, you could conceivably maybe wait until you had... I'm sorry about my mouse movement here. Activating things that aren't the most relevant, but you could reasonably, I think, wait until you have 2 10s in hand to play one, but because like you're just guessing that one's gonna get countered, but then you're giving your opponent more time to draw that counter to one of your 2 healing spheres. So my strategy that I'm not that sure about, that I apply in every game of this set, I should have changed it just to see a little bit, but so I did every time, is I play the 10 immediately after drawing it. I mean, and you can't, there's no draw phase turn 1 because you don't draw a card. Like, you draw your opening hand and then you don't draw an additional card. So there's no time to play this turn 1, not that you'd really want to, in my opinion, outside of, like, corner cases of, like, gold bursting turn 1. But yeah. So, I try the 10, it sticks, I have a healing sphere around me. Ooh. And so now what this allows me to do is, if I healed, I get to draw a card. And so when I use my Healing Touch, I'm discarding 2 cards to get a Hearts, but then I draw a card off the healing sphere itself, so I stay at the hand size I was. And if you have at least 2 of these on you, you gain a card every turn. At least 1 card. So yeah, you keep your velocity going, which is you want with Gloria, because she uses a lot of cards, basically, to make sure that she can keep healing and all of that. So, with this last turn, I can't really remember how I play this game, so I'm just gonna, like, guess, basically, which is kind of bad. So the last turn we saw Argagarg attack with a queen. My only throws is 8 throw. Luckily it's a hearts. It's an 8 of hearts, but I kind of feel like blocking here is reasonable. I might block with this 2 because I could bring it back in the case that I get thrown. Well, and followed up. So probably whatever. I probably just block with the 2. The likelihood of me being able to bring it back is low. But oh, whoops, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So attack with the 2 into a bubble shield. See, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. I guess it's like possible I was trying to play around like you attacked me, I'm gonna block, then you're gonna throw me on the following turn. You're setting me up to throw me. From like Zqxx side is possibly like setting me up for a throw this turn. And also throw is has extra utility because of the healing sphere. So I mean, blocking here is probably, or blocking here would have been kind of riskier than normal, because if I get thrown, I lose my healing sphere, and if I'm knocked down, I can't heal. So if Zqxx doesn't follow up the throw, I lose my sphere. I can't heal. I basically discarded a 10. I can't recur it. It's not the 10 of hearts. It's just a disaster. But what actually happened here is a different kind of disaster. I activated a bubble shield. So now I'm going to take 4 damage per turn. So that I can still keep parity with that, though. By healing. Every turn I can stay at 59. If I'll take 4, gain 4, take 4, gain 4. I'm going to lose 1 card each time I do this process. Or no, even if you have one of these, you stay parity. Because you get a card back and you draw from this. So, yeah. If you have 2 of these on, then you're ahead of a card. Anyway. So, yeah. So like I said, kind of a newer Gloria player, but here's some technology. Anyway, so, yep. I activate the shield. I'm not happy. Powering up makes no sense. Also, I didn't even go over this time, but overdosing makes no sense again. I obviously want a healing touch here, I think. I mean, like, I have to, basically, to make this worth doing in the past. I'm like, basically have to. Like, I could just discard the 10, but, like, I'm taking 4. I didn't even talk about what to discard there, but I really don't like the queen for Gloria. The attack side is okay, and the throw side is probably a good finisher, but I'm like scared to use it right now. It's like kind of risky. It's probably decent after a dodge, but yeah. Even though it's 3 cards for 16 damage, which is not great. Yeah. The attack side is decent because it's like her fastest non-ace move. So that's, or non like triple ace move. So it's one of her fastest attacks, so it's good for that purpose, but I generally like to discard the queen. Like, I don't know, maybe that's wrong. I keep the king instead, even though it's like slower. And has less options on it. Like, it's an attack, it's the same on both sides. That could be incredibly wrong. But I get back this 2, I heal myself for 3, I draw a card for Healing Sphere, I draw a 10 of hearts, which is nice, I get tagged for 3. Now this is when, like, semi-unfair things can start to happen with Gloria, where if you have at least 2 spheres on you, you are gaining a card. Every time. Is that even right? Doing the math on the fly. Discard 2 cards. Get 1 back. Yes, you are gaining a card. Sorry, this is horrible. You should know this. But yes. So when you have 1 sphere, you discard 2 cards, you get 1 card back. You're still down a card, but then you draw from this. When you have 2, you go up a card. So, yes, having 2 is nice. I play the 10 of hearts. I don't think Zqxx finds the 10. It gets attached. I drew a 4, I guess, of hearts here. So I have the option to do a straight, the 2, 3, 4 straight. The problem with this is, let's say I hit a throw with my 2. I would draw from normal draw, and then I can go 3, 4, get an ace, and I can overdose. It's maybe not as bad as I think, but in my overdose, I would draw 2 cards. So I would draw 3 cards through doing that, but I have to find a non-hearts in those 3. And I mean, when I power up for an ace, I can just use the ace, the different ace that I get. So, yeah, that's still... I would kind of lean towards playing the 2 here. Maybe that's wrong. Sometimes when Argagargs get this, get their shield up, they get extra turtley and just start resolutely down backing you and just forcing you to throw them. So it's possible that the 8 throw is good. And that would also like set up the 2, kinda. It's annoying because it wouldn't do any damage. Well, the 8 wouldn't, but then I could like set up the 2, and the good thing about it is that when the opponent's knocked down, they can't block even attacks with odd blocks, and the ace of Argagarg is an odd block, which is like the most dangerous block. So they couldn't block with an ace when they were down, if like for the purposes of the 2 attack from Gloria's side. So, so yeah. So that it would be, they would have to like basically attack with 1. I mean, Argagarg has some reasonable fast attacks. Queen or Jack would beat it, or 2. But still. So 8th throw is probably reasonable here. But I went with King. And sadly, like, the 2 would have been way better, probably, but... luckily, the good thing that happens here, multiple good things. So since I used the King for probably the wrong reason at all, like, I'm happy I didn't use the 8, I guess, but since I used the King, the opponent is going to be knocked down here, and that turns off the Hex for a turn. So not only did I turn off the extra 2 damage of it, it would only deal 2, but Arg is knocked down now, so it deals 0. And I won combat dealing 0 damage, so I can overdose, which I think I do, even though it is a risk, because I only have 1 non-hearts in hand, and I draw a second. So this is like a key turn where that is risky to actually do. I have like some equity on I could hit a pair of something. Like I could, any of these I could find a second 2, a second 4, and I could power up those for like an ace that's not the ace in discard, not the ace of hearts here. And then I could get like ace of spades and then use that and this 8 here. 8 of clubs, and then I could use those to healing touch back the ace of hearts and keep these up, because if I don't heal, these are going to go away. So I don't want to power up, I don't think. And then if I healing touch, I have to use these 2 cards. The rest of my cards and hands are hearts, and this is a thing that happens with Gloria sometimes. It's just a part of the character. It is risky. Sometimes you don't get there. Um, sometimes your hands, you just have awkward hands. You can't do anything about the fact that you have hearts, but usually you can play around it in some way. In this case, I fortunately have 2 non-hearts, so I can healing touch back this ace. Go back to 53. I usually don't have sound effects on. I didn't know that made a noise. That was interesting. And I draw 2 cards for my spheres, and I draw a card for a turn. So I've done all kinds of stuff, and I'm at card parity with Argagarg, but I think that's going to change. I think that's going to change this game. Now, Arg is knocked down. I had to get rid of my, or I got rid of my 3, I didn't have to. It was a choice, but I don't know why. One of my spheres is the hearts, that 10 of hearts, but I still don't want to discard it. I could get it back. So I just keep it. Sorry about Freya. She's, oh no. I'm able to hear out there meowing. So I don't have any more 10s. I don't have the ability to lead into this 4 with my 2, because I don't have a 3. So... But still, using a 2 is fairly reasonable. I mean, I think that the set of reasonable things to do includes, like, attacking with the 2 of hearts, throwing with an 8, or attacking with a jack, the fast side, the 2.2 speed side. All of those seem reasonable to me. And I probably lean towards the 2 of hearts attack, but let's see what happens. Yeah. And the opponent gold bursts out of it, which is fine. So this allows them to get 2 aces back. They get an ace from discard and an ace from deck. I can't overdose here. I choose not to. And of course I healing touch. And I don't discard my jack because this is one of the most important cards for Gloria. So, like, it's nice if you have the Jack of Hearts because, I mean, you can, like, be a little more... you can use it in a more risky fashion because you can possibly recur it, but any other jack you're basically going to want to hold on to because it gives you the ability to heal without discarding. Against Argagarg, it's a little more faulty. I'll explain that right in a moment here. So, so this jack, if you hit with the other side of it, you can return it to your hand to heal the opponent and yourself for 4. So what that means is that you can hit for 1 damage effectively with this and heal yourself for 4, or you can hit for 5 damage with the other side and heal yourself for 4. The problem, the problem with this idea is that the 10 from Argagarg can counter your jack returning to your hand. So that is a problem. Usually they're not going to use their 10s for that, but they could. So you don't want to, like, they can't interact with it in some way. They can't, like, if you're trying to recur, like, the Jack of Hearts, they can stop you once. You could healing touch it back and try it again. And then, like, hey, do you have a counter again? And they're like, yeah, I do. And then you go through that process a few more times. Then, I mean, they only have 4 of 10, so eventually they're not going to have the answer for it. But if you're hitting with it that many times, you're probably dealing them enough damage that it doesn't matter whether or not you have this card, really. The healing part of it is not the important part. In this case, it's like that you can keep presenting it as a combat option. And one thing that's, like, it seems like bad about it is that if you, like, do this side, you're dealing 1 damage, but that's, you don't care. Most of the time you don't care. And sometimes you don't even follow it up. You'll deal 1 damage and not follow it up. which seems really weird, but believe me, it happens. You'll probably see it the set. You may disagree, but I think it happens a few times. So more than a few. So let me go like here. What do we have? So I have a bunch of things. Still have my 2 spheres. Beautiful. I think I eventually have more than this. Yeah. So I found a Joker, which I think that Gloria has among the best Jokers in the game. Maybe the best. Because she can Gold Burst, which means playing the Joker as a combat option, turn 1. And if the opponent attacked her through, then it isn't playing like... and some weird thing doesn't happen. Then you could search for the Ace of Hearts, and you could overdose turn 1. So you have the Ace of Hearts, some other ace, you overdose with the Ace of Hearts, you draw 2 more cards, and then you could recur the ace at the end of turn with Healing Touch. And then you'd be at 66 or 64. And you have 8, 7, 9. And you have 8 cards, and then yeah, so you're up a card on the opponent, and you have like a very scary long-term damage-dealing card advantage tool and overdose on the Ace of Hearts. So yeah. Anyway, on this turn, I would consider. It's possible that I just play the Jack. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. I don't know if that's really a good idea. Maybe blocking is good. Blocking or throwing, but didn't even see it. Oh yeah, right. So, didn't even catch it in all my explanation, but the last turn, the opponent gold bursted, and therefore they had the 2 aces necessary to use Blowfish Spikes, Argagarg's fastest move, fastest attack, and a lot of players fall into the trap of like getting a powerful move and using it right away, and then if you predict that rightly, you can get a huge advantage on them. Like blocking a super is a huge advantage. I get a block back, I get a card, I get to overdose, drawing 2 cards, and then at the end of turn, I'm going to healing touch back my ace, getting my ace back and drawing 2 cards. So it's like, I don't know how many cards that is, but that's a lot. That's a lot. And it's also the opponent taking 10 when I blocked. So that's interesting. Gloria is an interesting character. She's fun to play. I probably should power up here. My 8s at least. It's possible that I could wait for maybe a 3rd 8 or something. So maybe not. Maybe it's okay to not to. But eventually you want to start thinking about Gloria's 3 ace move, Sun and Moon. I haven't been able to convert it as many times as I should have, but 0.6 speed, 29 damage starter. It does cost 3 aces, but that's pretty good. Like, her max damage she can deal off of that is not amazing. It's like you start off with this, and then you use like a 6 and then 2 jacks or something like. Or no, actually, you could put another 6 in there. So you could do this a 6 for 35, and then a jack for 40, and then you could deal 45. It's still not great though. So 45 for 6 cards. By the way, Grave can do this 45 damage for 3 cards. So, I mean, it seems really bad in that context, but it's okay. It's really fine. She deals, like, that she can deal 45 like that is powerful because she can deal 10 pretty consistently with this part. So, I feel like that's still okay. It's not as good as other characters' supers, though. The Twilight Key side is pretty solid. So, if you have 2 aces, you're pretty happy. You don't really necessarily need more. You can have more if you want. Of course I power up here after saying it was foolish. And I do it from deck. Again, you can do it from discard. So that's another thing to watch out for. Like, you could just accidentally press the button. Like, there is also, like, the thought process of just being wrong. Or, like, being misguided in your play or something. But, it's not wrong. It's not always wrong, but... Like, in this case, I don't want this 8 back right now. Maybe later I would, but... Like, if I Healing Touch, when I Healing Touch, I want this ace back, so... So I have another ace for some reason. I don't know what I'm thinking. I got another ace? What am I doing? Oh, I guess I'm trying to set up... Well, I'm trying to set up Sun and Moon right now, because I can. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I can threaten it starting this turn without reasonably, like, denying myself options. It's not horrible. I discard a king. King is kind of like meh. It doesn't really... It's okay. It's not amazing. So, again, even though I said that... I mean, this is not bad at all. I mean, this thing only loses to Blowfish Spikes and blocking or dodging, but in terms of attacks, only loses to Blowfish Spikes. And Zqxx just played Blowfish Spikes, which requires 2 aces, so they only have 2 aces left in deck, so they have 40 cards left in their deck. It's pretty unlikely that they have the other 2 in hand. So, the really... the really aggressive play this turn is to just play Sun and Moon raw. Just means play it as a combat option, which is probably 100% wrong. But this opponent may not consider that to be part of my range, so maybe I should, like, make them consider that in future games, because I'm pretty advantaged right now, I would say. Like, I have 11 cards in hand right now, and I'm just like, I have an engine going. But the real option, I think, is throwing with the 7. Even though I do have, like, 3 7s or whatever, it's nice to have more. 7's your fastest throw. It's just, I mean, it loses to Argagarg's throw, sadly. Oh, no, it doesn't. Anyway. So, it ties with Arg's fastest throw, and it beats all of Arg's other throws, blocks, and dodges, so it's pretty good. Pretty good to have a 7. At least like 1 or 2. So, I probably throw out the 7, but let's see what happens. I think I played a Jack for some reason. And it undercuts this 10, or King. Wow. So now I could follow up with some stuff. I probably do, actually. Whoops, let's open some photo app thing. God. What a disaster. So, I mean, the reasonable thing to do here is... Well, like, there's no face down. So, like, in Yomi, when you get hit with an attack or throw, like, when you lose combat, you can put a card face down. If it's a Joker, then all the follow-up damage is negated, and the person who lost combat draws 2 cards. If it's not a Joker, they just take all the damage. So you don't know... It's a risk-reward thing. You have to balance, like, if your opponent did face down, you have to balance, does it make sense for me in this situation to follow up? That kind of... You have to just make that determination at that point. Usually you're going to, like, have an idea before they would actually face down something. You'd be like, I feel like I'm have these cards I want to convert into damage, and here's my opportunity to do that, so I'm going to actually play my full combo. And even if it is a Joker, I can get more damaging cards later. It's fine. But I think in this case, the opponent just didn't play anything. Even though they know I have 3 aces in hand, which, I mean, whatever. So I just play another Jack, and I play the 2-ace move, Twilight Key, for a nice solid 28 damage, which is it's not bad, not bad. Because then I can tack on this other ace to deal 10 more. And I think I recur my Jacks, even though that could be foolish. So the opponent goes to 27 after the overdose. Then I put them to 31, 35. I don't know how I feel. Putting him at 27. Yeah, that's just probably bad. I don't know, I probably heal though. I mean, I definitely overdose. Healing is probably just completely wrong. Because it's 3 overdoses. If you don't heal twice, it's 3 overdoses. If you heal once... If you heal once, you're making it more than 3 overdoses. You're making it 4, so... that's probably wrong. I was playing... That's too conservative. That's just like, I'm in a way better position than the opponent right now. The life totals may look similar, but I'm going to recur this ace again, get the ace back, and get 2 more cards. I mean, I'm going to gain 1 card through that process. So then going into next turn, if I don't like power up anything, I don't think I do that. Going into the next turn, I will have 12 cards in the hand and my opponent will have 9, and you know, I mean, they have 35 life, I have 43. That looks small, like a small difference, but the cards in hand part and like the reliability of overdosing is a significant problem for the opponent. And of course I power up things, or no, I'm of course I healing touch back something. Ace of Hearts. Healing Sphere sometimes. Draw for turn. Got another Healing Sphere. Opponent like either doesn't have a counter or is like has conceded already, mentally conceded. Like I find it surprising. I was surprised when this just like resolved. I was like, what? Unfortunately, like the live broadcast wasn't recorded by Hitbox, but I was like shocked. I was like, how did this happen? Like, it's not impossible. But I mean, it's not. I don't know what the likelihood is of them having a 10 at this point in the game, but it seems like I was so surprised that they didn't have one. So one thing I kind of struggle with in terms of my Gloria play is that, like, okay, so like I just returned, just to get to a slightly different subject, I just returned a bunch of Jacks, and I think I just drew this one, not completely sure about that. Yeah, so I returned the Jack of Spades and Clubs, and then I healing touched with the Spades one, I guess. So, like the 2.2 speed side of this Jack is a pretty dominant move in the matchup. Like it ties with Queen, which is not even bad, because then like currently right now, like, if we both like Zqxx plays a Queen, I play a Jack on the fast side, I deal Arg 5 damage, I take whatever the Queen deals. I take 9 plus 2. I take 11. But I put Arg in 3 overdose range. And that's if I tie with speeds. If it's a win, then the payoff is like ridiculous. It's like I basically win the game if I play a Jack and I win combat with it. Because I could go like Jack, 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 6 for 21, and then not bring any of them back. And then I just have to overdose twice. I mean, I don't think I can get it. I was hoping to get it to a 1 turn, but I think it requires me to hit with the 9 side. Yeah, because like Jack, 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 21, so the opponent would be at 14. Yeah, so it doesn't quite make it a lethal this turn. But I mean, recurring them is so foolish. Anyway, so like, let's say that would happen this turn. What's the minimum I can hit them for, I guess, and still make it lethal in 2 turns? So, have to get them to 20. So 3 Jacks. So, yeah, so 3 Jacks. I don't bring any of them back. Then I overdose. I bring back the overdose, and I just overdose next turn. And the opponent has to deal me 45 damage over 2 turns to prevent this from happening. Which is, like... I don't know what Argagarg's max damage output is, but I doubt that that is possible. I would have to, like this turn... Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, this turn I play a Jack and I get Blowfish spiked or something. But I could still heal, like... So I'd be at 39, 29... 27 with the Hex. I go back to 31 after healing. It could turn into a close game, but could have anyway. So we just bounce off each other. Now this is bad for the opponent. Like, this is not... I could have just played like a move like Jack. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if I just play Jack, 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 don't bring any of them back, overdose you, the opponent's at 10, then I can very easily get the Ace of Hearts back and just overdose again next turn. And the opponent has to deal me 45 in 1 turn, which is impossible. Yep. So I threw instead, like... My thought process there was, like, I'm thinking that this is like a dominant speed. 2.2 speed is a dominant speed. If you were to respect, in any way, the possibility of getting hit with at least 2 Jacks, or however many the opponent knows I have. I don't even have it tracked right now. But it's like something or 1 or 2 Jacks or something. I just drew this one more recently. But the opponent still knows I have, like, this Jack. So if I were to just, like, play it, the opponent would just, like, be gone. They would have no way to do anything. Like, they could maybe Joker. Maybe they have a Joker. Maybe that's, like, why they're playing this way. Because, I mean, they would have to be the second Joker, but maybe they have a Joker. I don't know. But it just kind of seems weird to throw here because you know I have a Jack that beats this. And can only be, like, in terms of attacks or throws, only be, like, reliably... Or, like, it's not as reliable as Ace somehow, but... Because either side of... Once you have 2 Aces, either side beats this Jack here, but like, in terms of non-supers, non-Ace things, the Queen is the only thing that just, like, straight up trades with it, and the opponent didn't play one of those things. It's just strange. It's strange. To me, like, I wasn't thinking this at the time, but seeing the replay and everything, I'm thinking, like, they have a Joker. Like, there's no way they don't have a Joker here if they're playing a throw in this situation. Because I could just, yeah. But we just bounce off each other. That's the power of hugs. And then I overdose, drawing 0. I have 3 spheres, so it's like completely irrelevant whether or not I draw off that. It's like, it's usually nice. Sometimes it's essential that you draw off of it, which you will see later. How that does not happen. Healing touches, of course. Get the Ace of Hearts back. So it's just like, in 3 turns, if I don't take... It's not as like, it's not as simple as I'm making it out to be, but I just have to like not lose like 2 combats in the next 3 turns. And if I do that, I'll have a significant enough life lead that I can safely overdose 3 times during that time and win. If I can deal 5 damage to Argagarg before then in combat, then I can overdose. I can win by overdosing twice instead of 3 times, so it increases my clock. Didn't even see what I played. Played a jack. The opponent plays a throw again, like, incredible. Like, there should be just immediate face down here. Okay, so, and I should just follow this up. Like, I don't know if I probably do, but like, basically this 5 damage is all that matters, and this cannot be tampered with. Like, even if this is a Joker, I get this 5 damage, and that's all that really matters. So I could just, what I should actually do is just not do, I mean, it's kind of tempting when your opponent's in this range of, like, they're in really bad shape. If this is not a Joker, they're just, like, this is lethal this turn. Because I could go, like, 5, 6, jack, not return anything. That's 21. And then I could overdose. Yeah. Or you can 4, 5, 6. Because then you at least draw a card off of it. And for the... I was using hearts for my, like, 5 and 6, so it's like... And I could have with the 4 as well. I have no idea what I was thinking. I was foolish. Like, this should have been the 4 of hearts. I have in my hand that I refuse to play. Because, like, your hearts are just really bad. In your hand, you want them in the discard. That is where you want them. Besides, like, Ace of Hearts, you want that in your hand. But the opponent is just, like, in serious trouble and also dead. In serious trouble and also dead. Because they are at 10 life. They have to deal 27 this turn or they lose. Or 25, excuse me. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Oh no, 30, whatever. 29, they have to deal 29. Because I'll go back up to 31 with Healing Touch and then I'll take 2, whatever. So 39, or 29. 29, 29, 29, 29, 29. Draw for Healing Spheres. Play the 4th Healing Sphere just because I can. Because I wanted all the Healing Spheres up. For the disrespect equity. For the, like, how do you not have a counter equity? Like, really? Played some option for some reason. It's completely irrelevant. Let's actually look at the max damage, though. Let's actually go and look at it. By the way, I have a Joker. Let's say I didn't have a Joker. Like, and I hadn't played a Joker the entire game. But let's say, like, I had 2 Jokers in my bottom 10 cards, somehow. Let's say that was the case. How could I have to avoid taking 16 damage this turn, which, okay, that is actually more reasonable. Because I was making it out to be like, oh, it's so easy to avoid. I have to avoid taking 16, or like, yeah, well, like, I have to avoid taking 15. Or 60, yeah, 16. I could take 15 and still overdose and win. So let's check this out. So I blocked, and in the situations where I block, if I get thrown, all the throw damages are the same. So I would take 6 to start out with, and it uses 2 points, and then I could follow up with a king for the most damage, pumping with a king for 16. So that would actually do it. Now they have to throw first, which for some reason they were willing to do when I had a jack that was a dominant attack, which is bizarre, which is very strange, which indicates either that they want to lose the game or I don't know. I just don't know what that says. It's bizarre. I don't understand. I could have just played that jack like every turn. The opponent was never gonna do anything, but like alternatively on this after this throw, they could play a jack for 13 total, and that's not good enough. Basically has to be the king after, it has to be pumped, and yeah. At this point, one king was played, so only 3 kings are left. They did play a king, but I blocked. If I attack, I'm opening myself up to like dodge into king with a pump to put me to 10. And that's just a 1-turn thing as well. So that's the other thing to consider is like me going to 10 like is not a big deal, because I can just heal at the end of this turn. Go to 14. If I would take 16, I can go to 14. I take 2 from the hex, going to 12. It kind of doesn't matter. And then just play a safe option. And then, like, if I block the next turn and I get thrown, I'm at 12. Like, the throw doesn't kill me. I can face down the Joker, and then once I live, because the opponent's going to follow up and try to finish me off or whatever. Once I live, then I can overdose and win. So this is like a completely one game. Just playing it out for fun. And yep, so that's the first game. Let's see how the second game goes.